The Indiana Fever, congratulations, you four. You guys have successfully broken Caitlin Clark. Great job. You guys have tried your damnedest to turn her into a...
What we are witnessing is the systematic dismantling of a generational talent. The Indiana Fever Brain Trust, head coach Stephanie White, general manager Kelly Kroskoff, and president Amber Cox have embarked on a bizarre experiment. Instead of handing the keys to the most electric point guard in basketball history, they are attempting to force her into a rigid, traditional system that completely neutralizes her unique skill set. But that is just the surface. What happens next is what really matters.
Yeah, these networks get exactly what they asked for. They get exactly what they get every penny of what they asked for. But when she doesn't go rogue, when she plays within the system, when she gets subbed out 3 minutes into the game, and then plays for a few minutes, and then subbed out again, and then plays for a few...
Network executives at CBS, NBC, and USA did not pay premium broadcasting rights to watch a superstar getting benched 3 minutes into the first quarter. They paid for the deep perimeter shooting, the gravity-defying passes, and the chaotic brilliance that happens when she takes control. When she operates freely, she drives record-breaking viewership. Yet, the current coaching philosophy actively discourages that creativity, opting instead for a micromanaged approach that leaves her looking completely defeated on the sidelines.
Those four, and you get rid of your stooge of an agent, Aaron Kane, you'll be free. And I know we don't want her to go the LeBron route, but at this point, you need to get rid of Aaron Kane and you need to call Rich Paul.
This brings us to the business infrastructure surrounding this entire situation. The silence from her current representation under Aaron Kane during this organizational mismanagement is deafening. Contrast that with how a powerhouse agency like Clutch Sports operates. If Rich Paul were managing this scenario, hit pieces from USA Today would be met with immediate, coordinated media pushback. Right now, there is zero protection shielding her from both external criticism and internal containment. Now, here is part 2 everyone has been missing.
Yeah, y'all need to listen to this real quick.
Let up at all. They're going to stay full. They're going to be disruptive. I think
Listen
for
to
us,
this.
I think we got to get the ball inside to our post players. I think that's one way or one key to the game that will help us win is to get AB and Mo and.
Let us analyze the actual basketball strategy being deployed here. The directive to force the ball inside completely ignores the roster's actual capabilities. Monique Billings is averaging less than 10 minutes a game, and Aaliyah Boston, while incredibly talented in the mid-range, is still developing her consistency, finishing through contact at the rim. More importantly, initiating the offense through post touches neutralizes the most dangerous weapon on the floor. When you have a guard who commands double teams 30 feet from the basket, you run a high pick and roll to exploit that gravity game.
While Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark subbed out at the 6:30-minute mark, after which Portland went on a 13-2 run. Well, AB is still on a minutes restriction, so that's why she's coming out, and that's typically around the same time that we've taken Clark out before. None of that is good at all. None of that is good at all. But again, wait, why are you specifying AB's on a minute restriction, but you're not specifying Caitlin Clark's on a minute restriction? Explain, please. We did it in Golden State because, quite honestly, we didn't want Raven in that environment without another ball handler on the floor, but that's...
The justification for these rotations simply does not hold up to statistical or logical scrutiny. Claiming Aaliyah Boston is on a minute restriction explains her substitution, but it utterly fails to justify yanking your primary ball handler at the exact same mark. Furthermore, the reference to the Golden State game environment reveals a fundamentally flawed developmental philosophy. Shielding a franchise cornerstone from hostile road environments prevents the exact type of growth necessary for championship contention. And this is where it gets personal.
But I'm going to use it anyway. Folks, you mow your lawn. What do you do before you mow your lawn? You start your engine. And what do? You let that engine warm up because it needs to warm up. Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, they're your engines. Got to start that engine, let them warm up. 3.5 minutes isn't enough to let them warm up. They finally get into a rhythm. You get an 8-4 lead, an 8-2 lead, and you take them out. Well, now they got to start their engine again. But now we're not starting our engine to begin the game. Now we're starting our engine in the rhythm of a game of momentum we've already lost. This is coaching malpractice.
Here is what makes this entire situation unprecedented in modern professional sports. You have a franchise that locked into a generational economic and athletic engine. Yet, they are treating her like a secondary piece in a rebuilding year. We are watching the real-time suppression of a player who single-handedly shifted the paradigm of women's basketball before even stepping onto a professional court. The fundamental disconnect lies in how the Indiana Fever organization views their timeline versus how the rest of the basketball world views it. The front office is operating under an antiquated developmental model. They seem to fundamentally believe that dues must be paid, that veteran hierarchy must be respected regardless of talent disparity, and that offensive systems must be rigidly adhered to before any rookie earns complete autonomy. But history shows us that transcendent talents require immediate architectural shifts. When a player possesses the rare ability to tilt the entire geometry of a basketball court, you do not ask them to neatly fit into your existing playbook. You burn that playbook and draft a completely new one, entirely based around their unique gravitational pull. You do not ask a tsunami to flow through a garden hose. Look closely at the psychological toll this dynamic is actively taking. The constant, unpredictable subbing, the confusing off-ball assignments, and the public declarations that the team somehow plays faster with someone else at the primary point guard position. These are not just minor strategic missteps in a long season. They are devastating public votes of no confidence that slowly, methodically chip away at a player's instinctive aggression. The specific involvement of a team sports psychologist in convincing her to accept this artificially diminished role is particularly alarming. Instead of empowering a superstar to demand the offensive structure she desperately needs to succeed, the internal messaging appears entirely focused on compliance, conformity, and ego suppression. It is a terrifying masterclass in how to extinguish a competitive fire from the inside out. Consider the massive financial implications for the league as a whole. Right now, the WNBA is navigating unprecedented television rights negotiations, preparing for upcoming expansion drafts, and staring down a highly anticipated collective bargaining agreement opt-out. These historic financial leaps are entirely dependent on the viewership numbers generated by one specific style of play: high-octane, perimeter-oriented, visually spectacular basketball, by deliberately stifling that exact style in favor of archaic post-entry sets and conservative, fear-based minute management. The Indiana coaching staff is not just failing their star player. They are actively working against the long-term economic interests of the entire league. Network broadcast partners are absolutely noticing this glaring discrepancy between the product that was aggressively marketed to them and the muted, restricted version currently being delivered on the court. The upcoming schedule only serves to amplify this growing tension. With crucial, highly publicized matchups looming against the Atlanta Dream and the powerhouse New York Liberty, the intense external pressure to produce immediate wins will inevitably clash with the coaching staff's stubborn adherence to these flawed rotation patterns. We might even see manufactured strategic rest days quietly implemented just to avoid the glaring optics of these coaching failures unfolding on national television. The path forward requires a drastic, immediate intervention from outside the organization. It absolutely must start with a complete overhaul of her representation. A powerhouse agency that truly understands the massive leverage they currently hold must step in and forcefully dictate terms to the Indiana front office. The passive, quiet acceptance of this treatment by her current team has only emboldened the coaching staff to escalate these restrictive practices. Furthermore, the player herself must completely embrace the friction that comes with greatness. The greatest athletes in history, the ones who truly revolutionized their respective sports, were rarely universally compliant or easy to manage in their early years. They inherently understood that their unique, disruptive vision for the game superseded the conservative, risk-averse instincts of their coaches. This is, without a doubt, a legacy-defining crossroads that will alter the trajectory of her career. She can either choose to continue being a good soldier, politely executing a flawed system that mathematically guarantees inefficiency, or she can finally seize total control of her own narrative. The latter will undoubtedly cause immediate organizational chaos and discomfort, but it remains the absolute only viable path to realizing her ultimate potential. The Indiana Fever experiment, in its current iteration, is completely broken and beyond traditional repair. The cage does not just need to be rattled. It needs to be shattered completely. So, the question becomes, will she quietly accept being turned eye?